Stories Between Us anthology, where black queer men's lives, love, and tension take center stage. Lamont and Rico come from two different versions of black success. One raised in a working-class home where every opportunity had to be earned twice. The other from a family with money, legacy, and a long shadow of expectations. They never planned to get this close, but the season keeps pushing them into the same space, forcing two worlds to collide in a single locker room, a shared dorm, and a roster that needs both of them to win. The locker room is almost empty when Lamont sits down on the wooden bench and finally lets the helmet drop at his feet. The plastic shell hits the floor and rocks once before settling. Wet pads press against his ribs. His chest rises in short, hard pulls. Cold air from the vent above pushes against the heat still clinging to his skin. The fluorescent lights hum. A single shower runs in the back, water hitting tile in a steady, distant rhythm. He stares straight ahead at the open locker across from him. White jersey, navy shorts, the bold name of the school stamped across the chest. His new life hanging on a thin metal bar. Beneath it, someone has left a folded gray team jacket, tags still on. The program logo sits in the middle of the chest, crisp and untouched, waiting for an owner. Footsteps echo along the concrete. Cleats on hard floor, a heavy, tired walk. Lamont doesn't move at first. The footsteps slow, then stop just behind his shoulder. He doesn't need to turn to know who it is. His shoulders tighten anyway. Rico drops his own helmet 2 lockers down with less care. The clatter is louder, rougher. He pulls his practice jersey over his head in one sharp motion. The fabric sticks to his back, then peels away with a wet sound. He lets it fall to the floor, not even bothering with the bench. His chest rises and falls, sweat tracing clear paths down hard muscle. He wipes his face with the bottom of his shirt and lets it go again, eyes cutting once in Lamont's direction. They have been in this room together for 3 weeks and still move around each other like the field just followed them in. Every drill, every scrimmage, every rep in the weight room, always next to each other, always matched up, always a fraction too intense. The freshmen notice, the juniors notice, the coaches definitely notice. Lamont reaches for the gray jacket in the opposite locker without thinking, then pauses. The sleeves are long, thick, soft-looking. He rubs the cuff between his fingers for a second, then lets it go. It is not his locker. The name taped above it is fresh, written in dark black marker. Rico King. Rico grabs his towel and heads toward the showers. As he passes Lamont, a drop of water from his wrist lands on Lamont's knee and runs down the exposed skin. Lamont's leg tightens. He doesn't wipe it off. The shower turns on a second later with a rush of water, louder than the first. Steam slowly creeps toward the open doorway of the stall area. Lamont exhales, long and controlled, and finally leans forward, elbows on his knees. The smell of cut grass, sweat, and that faint chemical sting of cleaner sits heavy around him. He lifts his own bag and pulls out his phone. Notifications light the screen. Family group chat, alumni donors event reminder, a calendar ping about some networking mixer the assistant coach mentioned. He taps none of them, only stares for a few seconds until the screen goes dark again. Across the room, someone's laughter bursts through the doorway, then fades as a group of teammates passes by, heading out. One of them calls back a quick good night to both of them in a casual tone. Lamont raises a hand without looking up. Rico doesn't respond, just shuts off his shower and stands there for a moment in the sudden silence. When he steps out, towel wrapped low around his waist, skin still slick, he catches Lamont's eyes by accident. The pause is brief but thick. Rico's chest rises once with a deeper pull. Lamont's fingers press into his own knees until his knuckles pale. Then the moment is over. Rico moves to his locker and pulls on loose team sweats, the towel disappearing into his bag. The gray jacket sits between them, still untouched. Later that night, campus is quiet. The sky stretches black above the stadium lights that finally blink off one by one. Lamont walks back toward the athletic dorms with his stick over his shoulder and backpack hanging off one arm. The brick pathways are damp from early evening sprinklers. Distant music slips from a party in one of the upperclassmen apartments. His phone buzzes again. He ignores it again. Ahead, Rico climbs the same hill, duffel bag dragging his arm down. Lamont slows for a second, then speeds up, their pace matching without a word. They reach the front door of the dorm at the same time. The glass reflects both of them for a moment, matching white school logo t-shirts, different chains at their necks, the same tired eyes. Rico swipes his keycard first. The reader beeps. The lock clicks. He pushes the door open and steps aside. Lamont walks past, the brief brush of shoulders in the doorway sending a small, sharp jolt through both of them. They don't react, but neither of them pulls away faster than necessary. Inside, the hallway smells like detergent, leftovers, and body spray. Voices leak under doors, low and muffled. Their room is at the end of the hall. One room. 2 beds. One shared dresser. One small desk against the window, another crammed near the bathroom door. The coach called it good for chemistry on move-in day, patting both their backs firmly as if that settled everything. Lamont unlocks the door. The room light flickers on. One bed is made tight, corners sharp, sheets tucked. The other is a mess of pillows and a half-thrown blanket. Lamont drops his bag next to the neat bed. Rico tosses his onto the chaos, kicks off his slides, and sinks down onto the mattress without even changing his shirt. For a long moment, they just occupy the same space. Lamont stands near his closet, slowly pulling off his practice gear, hanging it with practiced care, folding his shorts, laying his gloves in a precise line on the shelf. Rico lies on his back, arm thrown over his eyes, chest lifting under the faded shirt with long, tired exhales. Lamont moves around him to get to the small fridge. The space between bed and wall is narrow. His leg brushes Rico's foot as he passes. Rico's toes curl reflexively, then relax. Lamont feels the movement even through the thin cotton of his pants. He pulls out 2 cold bottles of water. One lands with a soft thud on Rico's stomach. Rico flinches at the shock of the chill, hand dropping away from his eyes. For a second, he looks up at Lamont's face from where he lies, reading something there that neither of them names. Lamont says nothing, only moves back to his side of the room and sits, spine straight, bottle unopened in his hand. The gray team jacket is on Rico's bed now. Lamont notices it hanging off the edge, tag still dangling, a small white rectangle against dark fabric. The program logo stares up from the folds. The season builds quietly around them. Morning lifts start before sunrise. The weight room smells like rubber, chalk, and sweat layered into the floor. Lamont racks plates with steady, controlled motions. Rico loads more than he should and powers through. When it is time to spot each other, they do it without speaking. Lamont stands over Rico, hands hovering just below the bar as Rico pushes through his set, jaw clenched, veins raised on his forearms. The bar dips, pauses, then rises again in a smooth, hard line. Lamont's fingers brush the metal only when absolutely necessary. The calloused skin of Rico's hand grazes his as they re-rack. The contact is quick, but leaves a trace of awareness that lingers long after. On the field, they run the same drills. Offensive sets where Lamont cuts sharply and receives the pass without looking. Defensive schemes where Rico tracks him, body always half a step behind. Close enough to feel the shift in Lamont's weight before he plants his foot. They collide twice during a scrimmage, both times hard enough to send the sideline into a chorus of shouts and laughter. Each time, they get up fast, eyes flashing, chests heaving, neither willing to offer a hand, neither willing to be the one who stayed down. Coaches pull them aside at different moments. Lamont stands by the whiteboard as the head coach draws out plays, tapping his number with the marker, talking about leadership, composure, the alumni watching. Rico leans against the training table while an assistant tells him about opportunity, about grit, about how scouts love players who play with edge but hate ones who cross a line. Neither coach knows that the line between them has never been about sports. One rain-heavy afternoon, the team loads into the bus for their first away scrimmage. The sky sits low and gray over the highway. Water streams down the tinted windows. Inside, the bus hums with low conversation, headphones leaking faint tracks, the rustle of food wrappers. Lamont and Rico sit across the aisle from each other by default, sticks and bags stacked overhead. Every few minutes, Lamont glances out the window, then back to his playbook. He traces routes with his finger, lips pressed together. Rico scrolls through his phone, stops on a message from his mother, reads it twice, then tucks the phone away as if the words are too heavy to carry openly in front of these men. Halfway through the drive, the bus hits a patch of rough road. It jerks. Overhead compartments rattle. A stray water bottle rolls down the aisle. Lamont's hand catches the edge of the seat in front of him. Rico's knee bumps into the aisle. Their eyes meet in the shared sway of the moment, held there by nothing but vibration and a thin strip of space. Hours later, after the scrimmage and the team dinner, the hotel hallways are quiet. The carpet muffles footsteps. The air smells like generic cleaner and old air conditioning. Lamont and Rico's room is on the far end again. The coach likes to cluster roommates. Chemistry again. Inside, one queen bed is already piled with gear, the other stripped down to crisp white sheets. A flat screen glows faintly with some late-night game on mute. The only sound is the steady hum of the vent and the distant elevator bell. Lamont stands near the bed by the window, stretching out his back, shoulders tight from the game. They won. He scored twice. Rico stripped the best player on the other team 3 times in a row and rode him all the way to the sideline on the last one, earning a roar from the bench. The high from the field is still in their bodies. Energy flickers under their skin, restless. Rico walks out of the bathroom in mesh shorts and a school t-shirt, towel around his neck. A faint line from the helmet rests on his forehead. There is a small bruise already darkening on his bicep. He rolls his shoulder, testing the ache, then drops onto the edge of the nearest bed. The mattress dips under his weight. There is only one open bed. They both look at it, then at each other. A slow, unavoidable acknowledgement. Lamont crosses the small space between them and sits on the far side of the same mattress, back against the headboard. His leg ends up only inches from Rico's thigh. The sheet under them is cool. the kind of starched fabric that doesn't give easily. The television light flickers across both their faces in slow, shifting tones. The room is too small for the distance they pretend to keep. Rico leans back, shoulders spreading, arms along the pillow line. Lamont's shoulder is close enough that he can feel the warmth even without contact. Lamont calms down, more chill, but his chest still rises a little too fast for full rest. Without helmets and pads, the size of them is obvious. Muscle lines under cotton, thighs stretching fabric, hands resting on top of covers, fingers splayed, restless. The hotel air conditioner kicks on with a louder rush, cooling the air suddenly. Goosebumps rise along Lamont's forearm. A small shiver runs through him. Rico notices the movement. He reaches toward the foot of the bed, pulls the thin blanket up. His arm crosses in front of Lamont to spread it over both of their legs. The back of his hand brushes Lamont's bare knee in the process. The contact is accidental, or maybe it's not. Rico's hand pauses for half a second on the blanket, feeling the outline of Lamont's quad under the fabric, the dense muscle that has collided with him 100 times on the field. Then his hand retreats, but not far. It rests on top of the blanket between them, knuckles near Lamont's thigh. On the screen, two teams move back and forth in silence. No sound, just images of bodies in motion. In the bed, the quiet between them turns into something else. After a while, Lamont shifts, just slightly. His leg moves 1 inch closer, the outside of his thigh almost gripped by Rico's hand. The touch is light but clear. Rico doesn't pull away. His fingers curl, not in a fist, just enough to press knuckles into the warm line of Lamont's leg. He holds there, testing the boundary. Lamont doesn't move. His eyes stay on the television, but his jaw tightens. A small muscle jumps near his ear. The contact is a question answered without words by the absence of retreat. Minutes pass like that. Two big bodies under one hotel blanket, shoulder to shoulder, skin humming with the closeness, eyes locked on anything but each other. The room feels smaller now, not because of furniture, but because of what hangs unspoken between ribs and spine, and the space where their hands might move if either of them let go. A loud burst of laughter from the hallway breaks the moment. Someone from their team, probably walking back from another room. A fist hits their door lightly in passing. The bed dips as both Lamont and Rico shift at the sound, awareness snapping back to the reality of teammates, coaches, the program, everything outside this room. Rico removes his hand from the blanket. Lamont's thigh cools where the weight of it leaves. They both exhale at nearly the same time, but in different rhythms. The TV glows on. The moment folds in on itself, not erased, just tucked away into the crowded space of all the other almosts. Back home, the season deepens. Early mornings, late nights, classes squeezed in the middle. Lamont sits in the campus cafe in a clean jacket and slides his laptop open with careful movements. Internship fairs, study groups, recruiter emails. His life is built on solid presentation. In the same building, Rico slips in with headphones around his neck, buys the cheapest thing on the menu, and chooses a corner table near an outlet. He scrolls through bills, texts from home about car troubles, little updates about cousins doing good, aunties asking for photos of the field. They notice each other across rooms without calling attention to it. Lamont lifts his chin slightly in acknowledgement when he passes. Rico barely nods, but his eyes stay on Lamont longer than necessary as he walks away. On calls with their families, the class difference appears without needing explanation. Lamont's father asks about professors by name, mentions an alumni he wants him to meet. His mother texts articles about professional networking, adds small heart emojis at the end. He sits on his neatly made bed during these conversations, back against the wall, posture straight, voice smooth. Rico's mother asks if he has eaten enough, if the team treats him right, if he is staying safe. His younger cousins shout in the background. Someone in the house yells about a game on TV. He lies on his stomach during these calls, feet in the air, face half buried in the pillow, smiling into the speaker even when he's too tired to show it anywhere else. One evening, after a long practice in the cold, the trainer orders ice baths. The small room off the locker area holds 2 metal tubs filled with water so cold it burns. Steam curls around the edges. The floor is wet, slick with footprints. Lamont sits in one tub, teeth clenched, arms folded across his chest, bare legs disappearing into the water. Goosebumps cover his skin. He focuses on slow, controlled breathing. Rico walks in late, limping slightly from a hard check. The trainer points to the open tub next to Lamont. Rico scowls but obeys. He strips down to compression shorts and slides in with a sharp curse the trainer pretends not to hear. Water sloshes, spilling over the side. Cold crashes over his thighs and up his torso. He sucks in a hard gasp, eyes squeezed shut. When he opens them again, Lamont is watching him. The look is not pity, not mockery, just a steady gaze that holds the shared pain of what this sport demands. Their knees are close under the water, the outline of their legs visible through the churning surface. The cold wraps around both of them. The heat in the room comes only from their bodies, faces flushed, chests rising faster than normal. Minutes drag, ankles numb, then shins, then knees. The trainer scrolls on his phone. Somewhere outside, someone drops a weight plate with a loud clang. Inside this small room, the only sounds are them and the subtle churn of water as muscles twitch and adjust. Without meaning to, without plan, their knees bump under the surface. The contact is dull and blunted by the cold, but still unmistakable. Neither moves away. If anything, the numbness makes it easier not to retreat. They stay like that, knees touching, shared pain radiating through bone and tendon and whatever else lives under skin and history. When their time is up, they rise in near unison. Water streams down their legs, pooling on the floor. Lamont steps carefully onto the towel laid beside his tub. Rico grabs a towel off the rack and rubs his arms hard. For a second, they stand facing each other, bare chests rising, skin flushed, water still dripping from their shorts onto the tile. Lamont reaches past Rico to hang the plug back on the wall. His arm crosses close to Rico's throat. Rico's hand brushes Lamont's wrist as he reaches for the same hook. The brief half-tangle of limbs sends a small shock through both of them, stronger now that their skin is waking back up from the cold. They pull away at the same time. The trainer looks up, uninterested, and waves them out. The moment dissolves into routine again, but the image of each other half-naked, shivering, and silent settles in the back of their minds in a place that does not go away. As mid-season arrives, the team photograph is scheduled. They line up in full uniforms on the stadium steps. The day is bright and crisp. The stands sit empty behind them. Cameras flash. Coaches bark instructions. Players shift, bump shoulders, adjust gloves, crack jokes. Lamont stands in the front row, jersey immaculate, helmet under one arm, the picture of the captain he is expected to become, even if the title is still unofficial. Rico stands one step behind, off to the side, stick resting across his shoulders, loose and easy, the kind of posture that looks careless until you see how his eyes track every movement around him. The photographer calls for one more adjustment. Something about spacing, about making sure the program logo on the jerseys lines up right in the frame. Players shuffle. Lamont's jersey rides up slightly at the shoulder, number tilting out of alignment. He reaches up with his free hand to fix it. Before he can, Rico moves. From the row behind, he reaches down and smooths the fabric over Lamont's shoulder, sliding it back into place with one firm, deliberate stroke. His fingers press into the thick material, following the curve of Lamont's muscle, lingering for the briefest second longer than necessary. Lamont's back tightens under the touch, then relaxes as the jersey settles correctly. To anyone else, it looks like a teammate helping straighten a uniform. To them, it feels like something else entirely. Rico's hand drops away. Lamont doesn't turn, but the corner of his mouth shifts almost imperceptibly, the smallest change from neutral. The camera flashes at that exact moment. The image freezes them there. Lamont in front, shoulders squared, jersey smooth, and Rico behind him, hand just returning to his side. Eyes pointed forward, expression serious but not cold. The distance between them on the steps is small, just enough to fit the story no one around them knows. Later that night, back in their room, the gray team jacket finally moves. It sits at the foot of Lamont's bed now, folded once and placed carefully, no tag in sight. It's the upgraded version the team uses for travel. Lamont's own jacket had been torn in a pileup during last week's scrimmage, ripped across the sleeve and stained with turf, and he hadn't bothered to replace it yet. Lamont enters after a shower, drops his bag, and freezes when he sees the jacket. His skin is still warm, the clean scent of soap trailing behind him. Rico lies on his bed scrolling through his phone, pretending he's not watching. His body stays angled away, but his eyes lift once to catch the moment Lamont realizes what this is. Lamont picks it up. The fabric is thick and soft, edges crisp, nothing like the ripped one stuffed in the bottom of his locker. He turns it over once. There's a crease on the sleeve, clear proof Rico held it a while before deciding to leave it there. "You didn't have to do this," Lamont says, voice low. "I know," Rico says, still looking at his phone. "Yours got messed up. I had an extra one." Lamont pulls the jacket on. It settles across his shoulders, warm and solid. The cuffs fall past his wrists. The logo sits across his chest, same as every other player's, but this one means something different. Rico tries to keep his eyes on the screen. "Fits right," he says, voice slipping into something softer. Lamont walks past the end of Rico's bed, still smelling like the shower, and Rico takes in the scent once, before shifting his gaze back to the phone. This isn't an accidental exchange or a casual loan. Lamont needed a replacement, and Rico made sure he got one. Lamont accepted it without hesitation. Their room becomes something other than assigned housing, a space shaped by what they're choosing, not just where they sleep. Outside, the stadium lights shut down. The building settles for the night. Lamont sits at his desk in the jacket, typing lightly, losing focus every time he feels the fabric warm around him. Rico lies back with his hands behind his head, eyes open, the tension in his body easing for the first time all day. The jacket holds Lamont's body now. Tomorrow, it'll smell like him. Later in the season, it'll show up on long trips, cold locker rooms, and quiet hotel nights where sharing things becomes easier. For now, at the start of whatever they're building, it's enough that Rico offered it, enough that Lamont wears it, enough that both understand what's happening even if they don't say it. The room quiets. Two young men on twin beds carrying pressure, classes, families, and the truth they're finally letting themselves feel. Neither calls it anything yet, but neither hides from it anymore. The night stretches forward. The jacket moves with Lamont's breathing. Rico's eyes close, then open again, drifting back to the shape of Lamont's shoulders under the gray fabric. Eventually, the room settles to the soft drag of Lamont's pen and the faint shift of Rico turning onto his side, facing Lamont's bed even in sleep. The jacket, the shared air, and the inch of space between them settle into a stillness that feels full and deliberate. The week after their first win folds in on itself, shaping into something that looks like routine but carries the sharpness of something still unfolding. Morning lifts, afternoon drills, practice footage sessions, quiet meals in a shared room. All of it done with the awareness of two men orbiting the same tight space, pretending gravity doesn't matter when every step proves otherwise. Midweek practice pushes too hard. Coaches keep raising the intensity, shouting for faster rotations and cleaner hits. When Lamont cuts across the crease for a simple possession play, a defender comes in low and drives a shoulder straight into his ribs. Sharp, direct, and hard enough that Lamont's breath locks for a second before he forces himself upright. He doesn't fall. He doesn't grab his side. But the pain spreads fast under his pads, the bruise forming hot beneath the sweat-soaked fabric. Practice continues, but his strides shorten, his posture tightens, his torso guarding itself with every movement. Nobody says anything, or nobody wants the responsibility, except Rico, who watches him the entire drill. When the team finally filters into the locker room, Lamont's ribs throb in a steady pulse. He sits carefully, pulling his pads off with slow, controlled motions. The bruise reveals itself when his undershirt lifts, dark, swollen, spreading across the right side of his torso. Lamont presses lightly and grits his teeth in pain. Rico stops mid-step behind him. He doesn't speak, but his whole body moves closer, shoulders stiffening, jaw tightening, eyes fixed on the bruise. He stands quietly for a moment, taking in Lamont's unsteady breathing. Then he steps forward. He moves behind Lamont until their reflections align in the mirror. Lamont watches him approach. Rico lifts a hand and touches Lamont's ribs, firm and steady. Lamont's skin jumps at the contact, then relaxes as Rico presses carefully along the swollen edge. "Hold still," Rico murmurs, voice low. Lamont grips the counter. Rico reaches for the first aid kit. Tears open a wrap and steps closer. He threads the bandage around Lamont's waist with slow, controlled movements, fingers brushing skin each time he pulls the fabric tight. Lamont's breathing shifts with every pass. "You should have said something," Rico says quietly, closer now. Lamont lets out a soft exhale. "You saw it anyway." Rico pulls the bandage one last time, hands lingering at Lamont's hip before he secures it, their bodies nearly touching. Lamont stays still, and Rico doesn't rush the moment. Steam rises from the showers, drifting toward them. Sweat darkens the fabric of their practice shorts. The room hums with fans and distant water. Rico's thumb traces the edge of the bruise slowly, following its shape. Lamont tightens once, then lets go all at once, shoulders dropping under the weight of the touch. The moment stretches long enough for everything around them to fall away. By the time a trainer enters, Rico steps back. Lamont pulls his shirt down. The bruise hides again. Nothing looks different, but everything feels changed. 3 days later is game day. The stadium glows under heavy clouds, seats filling, drums shaking the stands. Lamont tapes his ribs tighter than usual. Every twist hurts, but adrenaline blunts the edges. Rico watches him from across the locker room, helmet under his arm, expression unreadable. Their eyes meet once in the mirror before the team funnels out into the tunnel. The game begins fast. Lamont sprints like the pain fuels him instead of slows him. Rico guards the field like he's daring anyone to touch Lamont again. When Lamont takes a slash to the ribs early in the first quarter, his body folds for a second before he forces himself upright. Rico's head snaps toward him instantly. Feet shifting like instinct pulls him across the field. At halftime, the team rushes into the tunnel. Lamont breaks away for a moment, leaning against the concrete wall. His chest rises unevenly. Sweat drips from his hairline. He presses a hand against his ribs and struggles through clenched teeth. Rico arrives seconds later. He steps directly into Lamont's space, one hand planted on the wall beside Lamont's head. Their bodies align like magnets. Lamont pinned by exhaustion. Rico braced by something hotter than anger. Their faces hover inches apart. Lips colliding in a single rhythm neither controls. Rico doesn't touch him this time. He doesn't need to. The air between them burns. Coaches shout, the spell breaks, and they return to the field. The game ends with Lamont's final shot, a hard, reckless, brilliant move that wins it. The crowd erupts. Teammates swarm. Someone slams into Lamont from behind during celebration, and he stumbles forward, body collapsing under the weight of pain. Rico catches him before he hits the turf, wrapping one arm around Lamont's waist, pulling him tight against his chest. It looks like a teammate helping another. But Lamont stays in his arms too long, and Rico holds him too close. Later, in their dorm room, Lamont sits on the bed shirtless, ice pressed against his ribs. Rico stands in front of him, arms crossed loosely, eyes tracking every movement Lamont struggles through. His hand lifts once, almost touching Lamont's cheek, then lowers before actually touching. The next week brings a new tension, one with a different kind of heat. It shows up in the way Lamont watches Rico during warm-ups, the way Rico stands a little closer than he used to, the way their teammates glance between them like they can't figure out what shifted. Practice ends late one night. Most of the team clears out. The locker room stays warm and quiet. Lamont sits at his locker, shirt sticking to his chest, skin still flushed from drills. He drags a towel across his neck, slow and tired. The bench creaks under his weight. Rico steps into the room and lets the door close behind him. He doesn't rush. He just looks at Lamont with a steady focus. Lamont looks up. "What?" he says under his breath. Not annoyed, not defensive, just open. Rico walks toward him. "You're moving different," he says. "You weren't pulling your shots today." Lamont studies him. "You weren't either." Rico stops in front of him, close enough that Lamont can see the sweat drying along his collarbone. "You trying to prove something?" he asks. Lamont's voice drops. If I am, you're part of it. That changes Rico's posture. His chest rises once, his eyes sharpen, not with anger, with understanding. He steps closer. Lamont doesn't lean back. He lets Rico into his space. Rico reaches out and touches Lamont's jaw with slow, warm fingers. Lamont turns into the touch, breath catching just once. You really want me here? Rico asks quietly. Lamont nods. Yeah, I do. Rico's hand slides down the side of Lamont's neck. Lamont's eyes lower for a second, then rise again. Steady. Then stand up, Rico says. Lamont stands. Their bodies line up chest to chest, heat passing straight between them. Lamont's breath falls against Rico's mouth. Rico grips his waist, fingers firm, grounding them both. Lamont presses one hand against Rico's stomach, feeling the muscles tighten under his palm. You've been watching me all week, he says. Rico lets out a low exhale. You notice everything, he replies. Only when it's you. Their bodies settle closer. Lamont slides both hands to the back of Rico's neck, pulling him in. Rico's lips hover over his. You sure? He asks softly. Lamont whispers, yeah. Come here. Their mouths meet, slow at first, then deeper, then hungrier. Lamont's fingers tighten in Rico's shirt. Rico leans in and kisses along Lamont's neck, planting his mouth on the skin until a dark hickey forms just under Lamont's jaw. Lamont shifts his head to the side, giving Rico more access as Rico kisses him again in the same spot, leaving another hickey that rises fast against Lamont's skin. Lamont grabs Rico by the collar, pulls him closer, and presses his mouth to Rico's neck, kissing hard, until a clear hickey shows beneath Rico's ear. Rico moves his hand under Lamont's shirt, spreading his palm across warm skin. Lamont exhales sharply. Rico, Lamont says, voice unsteady but full. Relax, Rico murmurs. I got you. Lamont lifts one leg slightly, bringing their hips tighter together. Rico reacts instantly, his grip tightening. Rico drags one hand lower along Lamont's waist until his fingers brush the top of Lamont's bulging groin area, pulling him in with more pressure than before. Lamont reaches behind Rico, grabbing his butt and pulling him even closer, their bodies locked in a steady grind that neither of them stops. Rico shifts his stance, pressing Lamont harder against the locker, and Lamont's hand slides forward to the front of Rico's pants, pausing right at the zipper as he waits for Rico to tell him what he wants. Lamont pulls Rico closer by the neck and kisses him again, harder this time. Rico responds with equal force, chest pressed to chest, no distance between them left at all. Their movements are sure. Everything between them becomes deliberate. Rico breaks the kiss for a second and says, I've been wanting this, he says against Lamont's mouth. Lamont answers without hesitation. Then take it. Rico presses him back firmly, hands sliding lower, holding Lamont right where he wants him. A laugh echoes faintly from the hallway. Both men freeze for a moment, chests rising fast, but neither pulls away. Lamont keeps his hands on Rico's neck. Rico keeps his grip on Lamont's waist. When the hallway quiets again, they don't return to where they started. They stay right here, pressed together, body to body. Rico looks at him closely. You want to stop? He asks. Lamont shakes his head once. No. Rico lifts Lamont's chin with 2 fingers. Then look at me. Lamont does. Their lips meet again. Slower this time, deeper, full of something more honest than either of them planned to show. Their bodies stayed locked together, steady and sheer. Footsteps echo down the hallway again, louder this time, steady, getting closer. Lamont and Rico freeze, their bodies stay locked for one last wet kiss before their instincts kick in. Rico steps back fast. Lamont pulls his shirt down. They both adjust their pants and stand upright, their chests still rising hard. The signs of what just happened cling to them. Flushed skin, swollen lips, clothes sitting uneven, pre-cum between their legs that hasn't dried yet. The door handle shakes. A teammate's voice passes right outside. They both hold still until the footsteps fade. Lamont lets out a sigh of relief and shakes his head. "Damn," he mutters. "We almost got caught." They grab their things quickly and slip out of the locker room before anyone doubles back. The hallway is empty now, lit by soft overhead lights. They step outside into the night air. They start walking with no real destination. Lamont keeps his hands in his pockets. Rico walks with his shoulders loose now, the tension from earlier replaced by something softer. After a minute, Lamont speaks. "You ever get tired of pretending?" Rico looks straight ahead. "Every day." Lamont nudges him lightly with his elbow. "We really almost got caught." Rico laughs under his breath. "We did. And you didn't stop." Lamont laughs too. "You didn't either." Rico glances at him. "What if we don't keep running from it?" Lamont snorts softly, shaking his head. "So you want to get married and have kids and live happily ever after?" Rico cuts him a look that's half smile, half truth. "I'm saying we stop acting like we don't feel what we feel." Lamont's smirk fades into something real. "A quiet love, huh? Something just for us." Rico nods once. "Yeah, something like that. Something real. Something we don't have to perform for anybody." Lamont imagines it, hands brushing in the dark, looks during drills, late nights in their room when nobody's watching. The secrecy feels dangerous and exciting at the same time. "It would drive me crazy," Lamont admits, "knowing what we're doing and nobody else knows." "That's the point," Rico says. "It stays special because it's ours." They keep walking until the campus settles into silence around them. When they reach their dorm, neither moves for a second. Lamont opens the door first. Rico follows him inside. The room is dim. 2 beds, 2 dressers, a small window catching faint light from the courtyard. Lamont sets his bag down. Rico closes the door behind them. Their eyes meet, slower this time, deeper, clearer. Lamont steps closer. Rico steps in to meet him. They stop just inches apart, taking in the same air again. Lamont lifts his hand to the hem of Rico's shirt. Rico reaches for Lamont's hips. They both know what's coming next. By late November, the season sits deep in everyone's bones. Lamont wakes up sore most mornings. Rico rolls out of bed already thinking about game film. Their bodies move through campus in a rhythm that belongs to athletes at the end of a long stretch. Parents' weekend lands on the schedule a few days before a big home game. Campus fills with families, school colors, and quiet judgments. Lamont's parents arrive in clothes they ironed 3 times. His mother carries snacks and a small envelope of cash. His father grips his shoulder and calls him Big Man, with pride and exhaustion in his voice. Rico's parents walk up later in matching jackets and matching smiles, greeting coaches by first name and talking about internships before they mention the game. Later that day, both families sit in the stands to watch open practice. The air is cool. The field is sharp under stadium lights. Players run through drills while parents clap and call out numbers. Lamont feels his mother's eyes every time he jogs past the sideline. He sees his father nod at him after a clean rep. Rico spots his own parents seated higher, his mother recording video on her phone, his father in quiet conversation with the head coach. The pressure settles into both of them. During a competitive drill, Lamont and Rico line up opposite each other. The assignment is simple: one-on-one, full field, no help. The whistle blows. Lamont drives forward with the ball. Rico bodies him harder than usual. Stick low, feet set. Lamont pushes back, gritting his teeth. They collide once, then again. The contact is loud against pads. Teammates shout, coaches watch. Lamont spins, Rico cuts him off. Rico strips the ball and clears. Lamont keeps chasing and locks his stick under Rico's arm longer than needed. Rico shoves him off with force that crosses the line between drill and something else. Lamont shoves back. For a second, they stand chest to chest, helmets close, voices low and heated. They do not swing. They do not step away. Parents in the stands fall quiet. The intensity between them is obvious. It looks like hate at a distance. Up close, it is focused and personal in a way that does not read as simple rivalry. A coach blows the whistle again, sharp and annoyed. Next rep, he calls out. They break apart. Both step back. Both walk to their marks without looking at each other. From the stands, Lamont's mother turns to his father. They play hard, she says. Rico's mother narrows her eyes slightly, studying the way Rico looks over once more in Lamont's direction when he thinks no one sees. Later that night, both sets of parents stand in the doorway of the shared dorm room. The room is cleaner than normal. 2 beds, 2 desks, 1 mini fridge. Lamont and Rico stand between the beds, shoulders squared, bodies relaxed, on purpose. Lamont's mother looks around slowly. Y'all really living on top of each other in here, she says. There is a half smile on her face. His father checks the closet space, then looks at the double set of gear. Rico's father walks the small distance between the beds and notices the gray jacket draped over the back of Lamont's chair. The same hoodie he saw on Rico his last visit. You two seem close, he says casually. We gotta be, Rico answers quickly. Same class schedule. Makes it easier to study. Lamont adds, he snores, but he's cool. The room loosens a little with the joke. They all laugh. Lamont feels the heat of Rico's shoulder near his. Rico feels the weight of Lamont's eyes on him whenever his parents ask about travel, grades, and the future. After a few more minutes of small talk and inspection, Rico glances at the clock. We should probably get to bed soon, he says. Coach has us doing early morning workouts. Lamont nods quickly. Both sets of parents ease toward the door. Hugs are exchanged. Lamont's mother smooths his jacket. His father squeezes the back of his neck. Rico's mother straightens his collar. His father reminds him to stretch and hydrate. They leave with last glances back at the boys in the small room that holds both of them. When the door finally closes, silence drops hard. Lamont exhales first. Rico leans back against the door for a second, then pushes off and moves toward the desk. They pull up game footage to look at before bed. The light from the screen fills the room. They sit on opposite sides of the desk at first, eyes on the footage, shoulders slowly easing as they talk through formations, misreads, and opportunities. The conversation is calm and technical at the start. Coverages, rotations, timing. Then it drifts. "You remember that hit from earlier?" Lamont asks, rewinding a clip. "The one where you tried to run through me?" Rico says. "You were doing the most." Rico smirks. "You started it." They watch themselves on screen move as one on a successful play from a previous game. Lamont points at the frame. "See that? That's how we gotta finish it tomorrow." Rico nods. They laugh about their parents. Lamont imitates his father's proud stance. Rico mimics his mother's tone when she asked about internships before asking about his health. The tension between them sits under the laughter. When they finally close the laptop, the room dims. They both go through their nighttime routines without talking. Lights off, phones set aside, each climbing into separate beds. Neither falls asleep quickly. The day sits in their bodies. They lie in the dark, listening to each other shift under the covers, breathing heavier and slower over time. Both know the other is awake. Rico turns onto his back in the dark, one hand sliding under the covers as he thinks about Lamont, letting his body respond while he reaches for his hard groin area. Lamont bites the inside of his cheek, face buried in his pillow, his hips shifting slow as his hand moves to his own member while the sound of Rico's breathing carries across the room. Rico keeps his movements quiet, careful, the mattress barely shifting as he glances toward Lamont's silhouette. Lamont exhales hard, eyes shut tight, his body tightening in rhythm as he presses his hand up and down in rotation, trying not to make a sound with Rico on the other side of the room. Both of them kept still in their separate beds, fully aware of what the other was doing in the dark. Morning brings game day. The stadium is full. Banners hang from railings. The band plays. Students fill the seats. Parents' weekend makes every cheer louder and every mistake heavier. Lamont spots his parents in the stands, bundled and leaning forward. Rico catches his family seated in a higher row, his mother layered in school colors, his father standing with his arms crossed, expression focused. The game is tight from the start. The score stays close. The other team refuses to break. Lamont takes hits and keeps moving. Rico holds the defense together. Late in the fourth quarter, the game is tied. The coach calls a timeout and draws up one last play built around both of them. Lamont starts the attack. Rico finishes it. They jog back onto the field. The crowd roars, the whistle blows. Lamont gets the ball, dodges one defender, then another. His ribs hurt, but he stays up. The defense collapses fast. Lamont reads the slide coming and fires a quick pass back to Rico without saying a word. Rico catches it clean, plants his feet, and drives toward the crease. A defender steps in. Lamont sets a hard pick, giving Rico a small opening. Rico steps into the space and shoots. The ball hits the net. The red light fires. The stadium erupts. Teammates rush them, helmets slap. Gloves smack shoulders, coaches shout. Lamont and Rico end up chest to chest in the center of the chaos, both breathing hard, both smiling for real. For a second, their eyes lock with nobody between them. The look holds more than a shared win. After the field clears and the team wraps its huddle, families flood the sideline. Rico's parents reach him first, pulling him into a tight embrace, words of praise and relief tumbling out. Lamont hangs back, talking to a trainer until he sees his parents waving him over. His mother grabs his face with both hands. "You played your heart out," she says. His father pulls him into a long, firm hug that feels heavier than usual. When they step back, his father's expression shifts. His mother's eyes gloss over. "We got something we need to tell you," his father says. The noise of the stadium fades in Lamont's ears. They move a few steps off the main path near the edge of the stands. His father explains in short, direct sentences. The company is doing layoffs. Money at home is tight. Savings are thin. Tuition, housing, travel. None of it is guaranteed for next semester. His mother watches Lamont's face the whole time, her hand on his arm. "We're proud of you," his mother says. "We wanted to tell you in person. We don't know how this is going to work yet." Lamont's chest tightens in a way that has nothing to do with bruised ribs. Rico spots them from a distance. He watches Lamont's posture change. His parents leave a few minutes later with long hugs and slow steps. When Lamont finally walks toward the tunnel, his face is set. Rico steps out of the shadows near the entrance. "What happened?" Rico asks, his voice low and careful. Lamont shakes his head once, eyes fixed on the concrete. "My dad lost his job," he says. "They don't know if they can keep me here next semester." The words land hard in the narrow space under the stadium. The smell of sweat, dirt, and food from the stands hangs in the air. Rico stares at him, chest still heaving from the game. "They can't take you off this team," Rico says. "You belong here." "It's not about that," Lamont says. His eyes gloss, but he refuses to look away. "If they can't pay, I don't know what happens." Rico steps closer. The noise from the field falls away. It is just the two of them now. Lamont tries to swallow the emotion, but his voice shakes on the next breath. "I just got used to all this," he says. "I don't want to walk away from any of it." Rico's face changes. The mask he wears around coaches, parents, scouts, that controlled expression, drops. His eyes move across Lamont's features in slow detail, like he is trying to memorize them in case this really is the end of something. "Hey," Rico says, stepping even closer. "Look at me." Lamont does. Rico lifts a hand and rests it against the side of Lamont's neck, thumb pressing under his jaw. The touch is firm. Lamont's hands lift and grip the front of Rico's jersey, knuckles tight. The fear of losing the season and losing each other rises at the same time. The control that kept them quiet for months slips. The distance they held for family, for teammates, for safety, collapses. Rico leans in. Lamont meets him halfway. Their lips connect in a kiss that is full of everything they have held back. Frustration, need, relief, panic, love they have not named yet. Lamont breathes against Rico's mouth, holding on. Rico pulls him closer by the neck, keeping him there. For the first time, neither of them pretends this is about the game. They crash back into each other, mouths locked, kissing hard and hungry. The kind of kiss that takes over a whole body and doesn't ask for permission. Both hold on, chests rising fast, hands in each other's jerseys, refusing to let the moment break. Nothing about the future is certain. The one thing that is clear now is the truth between them. They pull back only when breathing becomes too hard to ignore, faces flushed, bodies leaning in even as they try to calm themselves. They step out of the tunnel side by side, not as rivals or teammates, but as two young men finally moving towards something they can't name yet. The season keeps testing them, pulling at every fear and every hope they've tried to hide. but the connection they claimed in the dark stays with them. By winter break, Lamont learns he will return the next semester after all. His father receives a major layoff package tied to a profit share he'd forgotten he had, enough to cover every cost the family worried about. 2 years later, in their junior year, they come out to their parents shaking off the last bit of fear they carried into that first season. And by senior year, with the world still figuring out who they are, they slip away to Vegas, look each other in the eye, and lock it in for real at a Vegas chapel. They walked out of that Vegas chapel as husbands, laughing under the neon lights like two men who finally stopped running from the thing that was theirs from the start. Thank you for listening to Stories Between Us Anthology. You can find every episode on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Rate the show and leave a comment. It helps more people find us.